look at a document called The Blueprint for an Uncertain Future. Welcome to Army Newswatch. I'm Sergeant Dan Wilshire.
And I'm Sergeant Courtney Thomas. We'll also take a look at how the Army has found another way for warriors in transition to contribute. But first, let's take a look at what's going on around the Army.
There are now 35 warrior transition units across the Army where 9,500 wounded warriors receive care. Each soldier has a squad leader, primary care manager, physician, and nurse case manager to assist them.
When you consider that all of that has been brought to bear in under a year, I think we're being extraordinarily successful.
Remarkably, 70% of soldiers treated at warrior transition units actually return to duty.
ACAP Express is ready for launch. On February 28th, the Army Career and Alumni Program launches the online service bringing pre-separation career counseling straight to a soldier's PC. ACAP Express is targeted toward deployed soldiers or those living in remote locations.
You can get online, you can schedule, you can register for services, making it more palatable for the soldiers to say, I don't have to come to that ACAP center just to make an appointment. I can walk in prepared and ready to go to work.
ACAP provides pre-separation job assistance training, resume building, and career development tutorials to soldiers separating or retiring from the service.
As soldiers take the big leap out of the Army, a few service members in Italy took a leap out of a Black Hawk helicopter. Italian and German paratroopers joined their American counterparts in the first UH-60 jump at Aviana Air Base in 3 years.
Members of Congress got a chance to experience interactive military simulations and training devices that the Army uses to prepare soldiers prior to deployment. The U.S. Army Program Executive Office for Simulation Training and Instrumentation holds the annual event at Capitol Hill. This year's devices include the V-Communicator, a one-way translation device that is based on the Apple iPod personal entertainment system.
Very simple, just you scroll and click and enter and they get it. They pick it up and they understand it right away, so it works extremely well. So it is kind of surprising to see it on an iPod and that they're using this in Iraq, but it actually is happening.
A Master Sergeant in the Tennessee Army National Guard is about to make history. March 1st, Master Sergeant Rodney Whaley will become the first Tennessean to compete in the Iditarod. The 24-year Army veteran is one of only 102 people in the world to qualify for the 1,200-mile Alaskan dog sled race. Don't go away. Gail McCabe sits down with Lieutenant General Ray Odierno.
And the Army Chief of Staff talks about the blueprint for an uncertain future. Those stories and more after the break.
Hello, I'm Sergeant First Class Mushala. Your vote is important because your voice can only be heard if you take action. Let your voice be heard by casting your vote. It makes a difference. Remember, wherever you are, it's not too late to vote. If you have questions, see your voting assistance officer. Be smart. Do your part. Vote.
Welcome back. The drop in violence in Iraq is being attributed to the success of the surge. Before he left country as the commander of Multinational Corps Iraq, Lieutenant General Ray Odierno sat down with Gail McCabe to explain why he and his team still urge caution.
Security in Iraq has improved, the result of 6 months of surge operations, but the road to mission success is still blurred.
What I worry about is there's a window, and we need some political progress in order to maintain this window.
Lieutenant General Ray Odierno, commander, Multinational Corps Iraq.
If we don't maintain the window, the populace will feel that they have nowhere to turn. And I don't know what will happen then. And so that's what makes this somewhat of a tentative security game right now, because unless you have the populace behind you, you will not maintain security.
Odierno says increased confidence in Iraqi and coalition forces has led to the emergence of concerned local citizens, or CLCs, what he calls a determining factor.
What happened is they, for the first time, felt that they were secured enough where they could really fight al-Qaeda, and they chose. They chose they'd rather work with coalition forces than work with al-Qaeda. Ultimately, they want to be recognized by the government of Iraq and be part of the future.
A future that still holds great danger and even greater unknowns. A future that's inextricably linked to security. Gail McCabe, Baghdad.
It's called A Blueprint for an Uncertain Future. Staff Sergeant Ray Flores sat down with Army Chief of Staff General George Casey to talk about the biggest update to the Army's operation manual, FM 3.0.
First question, why is FM 3.0 being referred to as a blueprint for an uncertain future?
Great question. FM 3.0 is our new capstone doctrinal manual. It's the first capstone doctrine that we have published since September 11th. And it takes into account the hard lessons that we've learned over the last almost 7 years at war. And in my mind, we have developed a blueprint for how our Army forces will prosecute operations across the spectrum of conflict in the complex 21st century security environment.
So what are some of the main changes to this edition compared to others?
The main change in here is that it raises stability operations to the level of offense and defense. And the operational concept, which is the core of the manual, says that Army formations will simultaneously apply offense, defense, and stability operations to achieve the initiative and achieve decisive results. That's the core of this. And as you think about it, when I was a division commander in 2001, if you asked me where I should focus my training to be most versatile across the spectrum of conflict, I would have told you that if I can do conventional war, I can do anything. And after my time in Iraq, I will tell you I don't believe that anymore. And there are significant differences. And as we've looked at the 21st century security environment, what's clear to us is that every operation, whether it's a major combat operation, irregular warfare, or even peacetime engagement, will include some form of offensive operations, some form of defensive operations, and some form of stability operations.
The Korengal Valley is one of the most contested territories in all of Afghanistan. Troops there have faced direct and indirect fire from all over the valley since their arrival. But in the past few months, IEDs have become a more prominent threat. Sergeant Nathan Bowen is there to show us how they're dealing with the situation.
The battle company leadership at the Korengal outpost hosts a weekly meeting with Afghan elders to address issues both sides may have. These meetings, or shuras, are opportunities for both groups to voice concerns over issues ranging from security to humanitarian aid projects. There is one subject which lately has taken more prominence than others, the frequency of IED attacks along the single road which leads in and out of the Korengal Valley.
These IEDs have to end. It's been going on 3 months now that they've been putting IEDs here, and we don't have another 6 months to wait for the IEDs to stop. They have to stop now.
The latest attack was the day before the Shura. A resupply patrol was hit while on its way to the outpost.
Just as we came through and lifted up onto this concrete culvert, or whatever you want to call it, just we passed this rock face here, my vehicle hit an IED.
No one in the Humvee was injured by the blast or in the ensuing firefight. The soldiers gained the upper hand quickly and went on the offensive, firing on suspected enemy positions. They found the detonation cord used in the attack and traced it to its source, a hidden position with a clear view of the road. At the Shura, First Lieutenant Bradley Wynn, Battle Company's executive officer, and Lieutenant Varner explained to the elders how the continued use of IEDs against coalition forces will hurt everyone in the valley.
And if the IEDs continue and this road stops, all the projects that are supposed to come with the road are going to stop as well.
The elders say they will do their best to try and curb the threat, with the understanding that not doing so will only damage any headway made during these past months. Only time will tell if their efforts will have the desired effect. Army Sergeant Nathan Bowen, Korengal Outpost, Afghanistan.
The new Warrior Clinic is open at Walter Reed Army Medical Center here in Washington, D.C., and it's like no clinic you've ever seen. Our correspondents Dr. Paul Little and Crystal Park got an exclusive peek and join us now for the story.
Yeah, you know, Courtney, there's always been a need for something like this, a clinic that takes care of our wounded warriors and their families.
So Doc's going to take you on a little tour of the clinic, and I'm going to focus on one wounded warrior who shows us how the new system is helping his recovery.
Sergeant Irvin Brown is a warrior in transition.
Hey, do I have an appointment this morning?
After getting injured in Iraq, his official job now is to get well. And he's doing that in the Army's newest warrior clinic.
All right, Sergeant Brown, if you could step on the scale for me, please.
It's a completely different approach to soldier medicine.
We have very complex patients, warriors that return from theater with traumatic amputations, traumatic brain injuries, PTSD, and some of them have 2, 3, or more of those together. We have a triad of support that takes care of those warriors. Primary care manager, the squad leader, and the case manager all work together to develop a comprehensive treatment plan.
Primary care physician is a doctor that sees all the soldiers for their medical care. We coordinate their care. Sometimes the soldiers see several subspecialists, and we need to be aware of all the subspecialist recommendations and care for that soldier.
Soldiers are different here. You know, these are ill or injured soldiers that we're dealing with, and a lot of things are different from a regular unit. For our side, it's mostly you have to be compassionate and for each individual circumstance.
I think it benefits the soldier as a triad because then you have the physician, the nurse case manager, and the squad leader all together talking as one to make sure this soldier is taken care of, not only medically but psychologically, financially. Also the family is involved, and they're involved in their care plan as they're going through their treatment.
And not only that, but the clinic is Americans with Disabilities Act compliant, with low exam tables and scales that accommodate wheelchairs. But what do soldiers think? Crystal Park takes us up close and personal with a warrior clinic patient.
Specialist Bradley Buckland checks in for his daily appointments at the new warrior clinic at Walter Reed.
Do you know who your provider is?
I was on top of a roof, and basically a sniper shot me, and I went down.
As a wounded warrior, Specialist Buckland has his own personal team called a triad that plays different but vital roles in his recovery.
This has been a great year for change. We've seen great improvements in how we are able to care for warriors. Most of that is based on the resources that the Army has provided. For us, that has been manpower.
Manpower has been the driving force for the success of the Warrior Transition Brigade. The team includes a squad leader, a nurse case manager, and a primary care physician.
We're hooked to the hip, one team.
It's been pretty effective so far.
It's been really effective.
Yeah,
The fact that all three come from different backgrounds doesn't weaken the team. In fact, it only makes them stronger.
Myself, me and Sergeant Atwood's coming in from totally different MOSs, so when it comes to medical stuff, we really have no clue, and that's what we really need, the case manager.
The last link in this chain is Specialist Buckland's primary care physician, Dr. John Betteridge. He says personalized attention makes all the difference.
I think now having three of us who are, working on these cases individually and together allows us to bring out those unique points and help these soldiers solve their unique problems in a more efficient way.
The wounded warriors aren't the only ones who are finding their strength through the new system.
The most rewarding thing is to find in myself that, hey, I'm able to deal with this and handle this. So you kind of like find a part of yourself as well.
Yeah, and I've had a great bunch of doctors, nurses. Yeah, I couldn't ask for better people, to tell you the truth.
At the official dedication of the Warrior Clinic at Walter Reed, General Richard Cody assured soldiers that warrior care will continue to be improved.
To all our soldiers out there, don't worry, we'll take care of you when you come back. That is the #1 mission we have back here in the United States.
Specialist Buckland is making a great recovery and should be back with his unit soon.
And Crystal, if there's one thing that really makes it work, it's that triad of care with the nurse case manager, the NCO, and the primary care manager all working together to make things work. We've never had that before.
Still to come, Kansas University steps up as a friend to wounded warriors.
And despite numerous stitches, you'll find out how one soldier is still considered the closer.
Don't go away. More of the stories that make America's Army are up next.
The odds of a child becoming a professional golfer? 1 in 140,000.
The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 150. You know the odds of autism. Now learn the signs. Go to autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back. Large boxes of donations are piling up at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. An area Boy Scout heard about the gifts coming in for wounded troops and decided to give something of his own. Michelle Michael explains.
These are all large double flaps.
At 13 years old,
there's still one box down here.
Joey Barrow.
Left side right here.
He's cleaning up.
Yeah, we got to sort through that box too.
By choice.
Well, yeah, I like sorting things, except in my room.
This room is inside the largest overseas military hospital in Germany. Home, at least for a while, to wounded soldiers. They come here with nothing.
They have to cut off their uniform. They leave everything back in Iraq. When they first get here, then they have to get issued sweatpants and shoes, socks.
Those shoes, socks, pants, and other gifts come to Landstuhl Regional Medical Center every day. The boxed up stuff is stacked up. The staff can't catch up because so many donations are coming in. Joey heard about the program and decided to make it his project, his Eagle Scout project.
All the extra larges go in here.
He's sorting, labeling, and giving back to soldiers. For a boy barely a teen, this war hits close to home.
I do have a friend that's dad lost a leg.
He sees its effects every day. Today, he's affecting the war. He's volunteering, not to build his resume, but to build himself. Michelle Michael, Landstuhl, Germany.
The Army teamed up with the University of Kansas and announced a new way to keep warriors in transition in the Army family. Staff Sergeant Ray Flores was in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas for the announcement of the Wounded Warrior Education Initiative.
From this to this. Secretary of the Army Pete Guerin and the University of Kansas welcomed 8 soldiers into the Wounded Warrior Education Initiative program.
This is a new journey that we in the Army, the University of Kansas, are taking together in partnership with these outstanding Americans who have given so much in service to our country.
The pilot program allows severely wounded soldiers the opportunity to complete a master's degree. The soldiers then return to the Army, where the Combined Arms Center benefits from their education and personal experiences.
They have made some great sacrifices, but it's also not a charity program because we intend to utilize these highly motivated individuals who have demonstrated the capability to work through some severe hardships.
After an IED attack changed his life, Captain Gates Brown sees it as a way to redefine his Army career.
Originally I was combat arms, and now I have the opportunity to continue to contribute to the Army, and the fact they're willing to give me that opportunity is really reassuring to me.
Staying in the Army family is also a big step for the real families.
It's been amazing the care that he's gotten here at Fort Leavenworth and then in North Carolina when he first got back. It's been I can't imagine not having the Army to help us get through it and everything, so it's been really good.
Based on the success of this pilot program, officials may expand the program in the future. Sergeant Raymond Flores, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas.
Over the past 4 years, the Corps of Engineers has completed $24 billion of construction in Iraq. In a violent and insurgent-filled environment, even getting to a project site is dangerous. Kevin Casey introduces us to a man who knows this all too well.
He's Navy Commander Steve Frost, but you can call him the closer. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Iraq has tasked Frost with taking dozens of construction projects the final mile. After 3 years, progress on some of these projects had stalled, mostly because they were in insurgent strongholds.
Some of the areas were so dangerous that American eyes were not placed on the facility. So what I did is assembled a couple guys with myself, and that we went into these areas and actually took a look of what needed to be done to complete the facilities. This is looking real good.
On March 27, 2007, the insurgents got lucky. After Frost visited a health clinic in northeast Baghdad, an improvised explosive device took out his vehicle, injuring Frost and other members of the team.
All right, we go straight. Take us to Pluto. Go straight, go straight. Copy, going straight.
Well, I was medevaced out of here twice for that incident, and still am being treated for traumatic brain injury, and I ended up with over 600 stitches internally for internal bleeding.
All right, sir. Just welcome on this. Yeah, I just want to make sure they're okay.
And when I was in the hospital, they both sides said you've got a ticket home, and you don't want to go home. You want to come back here to finish the job. You want to be with your troops because you believe in what you're really doing.
To close out Al-Baladi Hospital in the heart of Sadr City's insurgent neighborhood, Frost enlisted the help of the 2nd Stryker Cavalry Regiment. In any area where security is an issue, the Iraqi staff can't know he's coming. So once on the project site, Frost has to seek out the key people and lay eyes on key equipment.
Okay. Do they have fuel for the generators?
Eventually, the doctor on duty emerged from the crowd and agreed that the facility was in good shape. The doctor officially accepted the renovated hospital on behalf of the Iraqi people. Another facility turned over thanks to the closer. Now this Navy Reserve Seabee is heading home to Chandler, Arizona. For his injuries, he earned the Purple Heart. And for his many successes, like delivering these 30 clinics to the Iraqi people, he earned a Bronze Star.
When you actually see the people using these facilities and the outcome, it's definitely worth it. And yeah, there'll be scars, on my body, but that's okay. At least there'll be people that actually are getting treated and will have a longer life because of it.
For the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, I'm Kevin Casey.
Most soldiers receive their military awards while they're still in the service. So imagine Andrew Westcott's surprise when he learned he had received the Silver Star 39 years after he earned it. Specialist Scott Kuhn reports on this hero who says he was just doing his job.
Retired Staff Sergeant Andrew Westcott waited 39 years for a Silver Star he did not even know he had earned. At a Fort Wainwright ceremony on January 16th, U.S. Army Alaska Commander Major General Stephen Layfield presented that Silver Star to Mr. Westcott.
When we in this room just did it, up close and personal, we just recognized not only a hero of our nation, but we just recognized a model patriot and a model citizen of the great country we fight for.
In 1968, Andrew Westcott was a young platoon sergeant in Vietnam. On October 23rd, he and his platoon found themselves near the demilitarized zone.
A second-year veteran, I think Sergeant Adams. He was on point, and we got into an area where there was very large clearings from shell craters and that. And we were about in the 3rd clearing when he spotted the ambush and set it off.
After more than 2 hours of fighting, Sergeant Westcott's platoon leader was hit by enemy fire.
It was his 3rd day there, and just a first lieutenant, and doing what he thought was right, and he tried to flank a machine gun nest and took 6 rounds to the chest.
Dodging a hail of machine gun fire to reach his fallen leader, Sergeant Westcott attempted to pull him to safety.
I didn't know he was dead, and I crawled in after him to bring him back to an area where a medic could get at him. And when I got him back and rolled him over, he only had time to take out his crucifix and lay it on his chest.
After receiving minor wounds to his side, Sergeant Westcott and 9 other soldiers found themselves pinned down in a shell crater by small arms fire.
I knew if I didn't get everybody out of that shell crater and get this guy pinned down to where he couldn't do it anymore, that we were going to lose 9 guys. What I did is I got out. He hit me 3 times from here to the door, and I got to where one of the 60 caliber kids were. On 60 calibers, they kept him pinned down while the rest of the 9 guys got out of the shell crater.
Mr. Westcott says that receiving the Silver Star does not make him a hero, just a soldier doing his job.
It's just not a soldier next to it. It's a guy that you've been with for who knows how long, and it's more of a buddy system and more of a duty to help the guy that's next to you. I think you do it as a duty, and it's your job to get yourself and your friends through each day.
Reporting for U.S. Army Alaska, I'm Specialist Scott Kuhn.
Coming up, we take a look at how the Army Corps of Engineers is taking care of the children.
Plus, a new way of life at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Mom!
What?
You can't find Ichabod.
What? You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Welcome back. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has the largest military construction budget since World War II. Projects all over the globe are impacting where and how soldiers and families live. $917 million will be invested in quality of life facilities, including daycare centers. Work is in progress now on the largest one in the Department of Defense. This Fort Myer, Virginia facility will have space for more than 450 children. This center will open its doors in August, and similar daycare facilities are being built around the Army.
Fort Jackson strives to make a greener way of life for everyone at the installation. As James Williams reports, that includes soldiers on the range.
This is our recycle center.
It's a lot like any other recycling center. Here they collect cans, glass, paper, and cardboard.
And you have them push it right down in the box. And then as the stuff starts packing it down, you got another good container.
They also recycle brass, and Fort Jackson has plenty of that. More than 50,000 soldiers train here every year, and they send millions of rounds downrange. The spent casings pile up quickly. At the end of a firing cycle, soldiers collect the brass and send it to a final screening point. Munitions handlers hose down the brass.
We still have some residue from black powder residue left in here.
Ernest Young then dumps the casings into what's called a deformer.
Just crank it up. 5.56 blanks in it. We also run the 5.56 ball ammo, the 7.62, the 9mm. All of that goes in here.
It takes a lot of man hours to recycle this much brass, but according to Lucas, the benefits are worth the effort.
We capture it, so we don't have to pay a contractor to dispose of it. Then we resell those things, and then we bring money back to the reservation.
Last year, Fort Jackson sent off 8 truckloads of brass. At $2 a pound, Fort Jackson profited about $656,000. Money that comes right back to soldiers and their families. James Williams, Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
That does it for this edition of Army Newswatch.
Join us again next time for the stories that make America's Army.